Hello. Oh, I'm going to put the camera up a little bit. It's still a bit too low. Just a sec. I'm here. I think you can still see most of my mat. As you can tell already, I've decided to start today on the mat. So after 8 years of practicing yoga, I'm able to sit on the floor on a yoga prop this thick and quite comfortably. And as I said before, it's largely because of my back strength that 8 years has given me. When I first started, it was like a big effort just to sit cross-legged. But again, if you can't, straight legs is fine. Sitting up on a high bolster. And in most of my, or many of my yoga classes, people will sit with the bolster against the wall and put their back against the wall and then cross their legs. My yoga teachers say an angle down from the hips is ideal. So there's lots of options. Of course, the chair is a big option. Now I'm finding that these yoga practices, the Friendly 15 that I'm doing, are quite rushed. So I hope that we'll all kind of think of them as demos, because I'm hastening through a lot of the asanas or postures or poses, whatever you want to call them, shapes. And in an actual practice, you usually have a longer period of time. But just the same, if I can give a few tips that help you, or if you enjoy them at the pace that we're going, that's a super duper bonus. I'm Nellie, aka Nancy, so I don't mind if whichever you refer me to. I want to also welcome the youth. I know that Delia has told Delaney about it, and children need to learn about yoga and see us practicing it. And yesterday I had a couple of practices, a short one and a longer one. And in the longer one, I had a beautiful shavasana, and my yoga guide, Jen, gave us a yoga nidra, and it made me really want to do more of that. I'm not qualified to offer yoga nidra, but I'm looking forward to it. Okay, I've already wasted 2 minutes. So today, I want you to sit on your chair if that's more comfortable for you, or sit on the ground. I'd like to introduce to you the downward facing dog and child's pose. Those are my two goals for today. But I want you to be aware that a lot of people do not like doing downward facing dog because of wrist issues. A lot of people who are starting to practice yoga have trouble with their wrists. So I want to welcome you to join me if mat work is part of what you can do easily. And if it isn't, then I want you to put your chair at the end of your mat, like this, so that the seat is facing you. If you really, you can also use the back of your chair, but we'll start with this. So I'm going to remove my sitting prop, my bolster, and I'm going to go into hands and knees. And if you have trouble with hands and knees, you can put a blanket under your knees. I have a carpet and 2 yoga mats here, so my knees are fine in this position. But my wrists, this is where people go, oh, this is too hard for me. It's hard for my wrists. It to be in the tabletop, we often call it, 4-pointed position. So there's a few things you can do. You can use a block and put your hands on a block with your fingers over the end, and that will help your wrists, make it a little easier. My secret is I use my fingers, and then my wrists are straight, and my fingers seem to be okay. I mean, not everyone has the same arthritic problems or strength issues. In a regular class of yoga, they recommend that you put your index finger pointing towards the short end of your mat, like that, and your hands are splayed. If you splay your fingers, you get more support, surprisingly. And there we are in our four-pointed kneeling position. Now, I wanted to show you downward facing dog, but I can't do it with my socks on, so I have to take off my socks because I get better grip on my mat. I find the socks are too slippery. So, in downward facing dog, all you do is you can bring your foot forward if you want to. You're going to lift your hips up. As you get better, you can use your abdominal and back strength to lift straight up, but don't rush it. Get up however you can, with a nice flat foot, and up. Then step back comfortably. And the idea is to put your ears between your arms if you can. Now don't do this if it's hard, because I'm going to show you the adaptation after. And then you push your hips back and you try to make a straight line. The key here is the inversion. It's a huge, important, health-giving thing to put our head below our heart. I hope you can hear me. We want to put our head below our heart. It does so much for us. It's a really good thing. Now, you don't have to have straight legs in downward dog. You can have bent legs. There's no rule about it. You don't do what you feel comfortable about. Now, for many of us who are getting older, now, don't forget, I've been practicing for quite a few years. You can hear my breath. It's a good exercise, but I want to show you the adaptation now. And I'm going to put a block up here, and I'm also going to grab a blanket. I watch a lot of people in my practices, and me included. Sometimes the instructors insist that we follow the adaptation because it gives us different benefits. So you can put a blanket on the chair if you want. Makes it a little easier on the wrists. Or you can use a block on the chair. And what we're going to do is we're going to stand up. Let's just take a bit of a breather. I'm going to move the camera up just a shade. There. That should help a little bit. And I know you can't see my head, but we'll stand here for a moment. Arms up. Inhale. Hands to heart center. Exhale. This is personal for me. I'm regulating my breath. Arms up. Now you see my mountain pose isn't ideal for me. I like my legs a little further apart. There we go. And hands back to heart center. And once more. Arms up. Okay, now I'm going to face my chair. And I'm going to do my downward dog. I like to call it, I do this on my windowsills all the time. I have nice big windowsills in this big old house. But we do this in practice as we do this in the chair. So you can hold on safely on the side of the chair. You can use the mat so that it's a little easier on your wrists if you want. And you step back to a comfortable position with your arms extended. Then again, you lower your head and you're using the forward fold of the hips. Ears between the arms. Oh, doesn't that feel great? As far as you can go. Let's just do 3 breaths here. Now, if it's hard on your shoulders, you can move your forearms into the chair and go down again. That's a good one. It takes some of the pressure off the shoulders. But you're still getting the inversion. And the beautiful thing about the standing inversions compared to the seated inversion is that our belly flesh is not really in the way. We can benefit from the inversion of this kind. Two more breaths. Downward facing dog has many faces. Even turning it this way and putting your hand on the top of the chair, of course a little further back. There you go. It's still a downward facing dog. You're getting it right. Be careful with your shoulders. Do what you need to do. But the goal is to get your ears between your arms, whatever is a comfortable position for your hands. And if you can get right down to the floor, more power to you. Most of the youth can do this, but not all. Everybody has a different ratio, too, between their lower body and their upper body. So you will see some people who can, who have very short, low waists, who can easily touch the floor. And it's not a power thing. Everybody's body is different. Arm length, everything is different. So we're down to 5 minutes. The last thing I want to demonstrate today is child's pose. So I'm going to ask you to not follow me down unless you feel comfortable coming down to the floor, but I'm going to demonstrate child's pose. And so I'm going to carefully go down to the floor and put my knees. Now, the way we do child's pose is knees apart and feet on the floor if you can, and then back. And then you want to put your hands as far forward as you can and lean down. Now, I'm not showing off here, but I've been practicing for quite a while. I can get my head to the floor. In my practices, lots of people take their bolster and they put it in front of them, and then they lean on that, head to one side. Child's pose. And some people don't like to have their head down. They put a block on. Child's pose. Now here you can rest for 10 breaths. We'll probably just do 4 if you're down here. But my whole goal was to demonstrate a child's pose where that can be done from a chair position. So you do need a second chair, which I just happen to have handy here. So I'm gonna put it sideways so you can see. Child's pose is a great meditative pose. So I've got my 2 chairs. So if you sit in your regular chair, you can put another one in front of you. You're seated, it's comfortable for you because you cannot get down on the floor, and there's a lot of people who can't, more than we care to admit. You can put a blanket or a block and move your hands to the back of the chair. You put the chair so that it's just, I like to always encourage people to not sit back in the chair because it encourages slouching. And there we are again with our belly flesh. So we're going to move forward in our chair. Reach to the back. Now you can walk your chair to the comfortable position and lean forward. Put your head on the block. You can fold your arms in. Make yourself as comfortable as you can. And then the point is the breathing. Loud exhales are such a wonderful thing to do. Seated child's pose, chair child's pose. It's a forward fold. Child's pose is supposed to be a relaxing position that you can return to at any time in your practice. And so is downward dog. Downward dog is also a resting pose. And usually we'll take multiple breaths. 2 more breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Okay, now pushing on your chair. And I'm going to go back to the ground so you can see my face as we finish our practice. Now wrists. Let's do some wrist circles. If in any yoga practice you're finding your wrists hurting, just go into a seated position and do some wrist circles. Hands together, reaching out. And then I want you to gently pull your elbow and press your wrist down. Holding for a couple of breaths. And then back. How can I show you? Fingers back for a couple breaths. Your tendons are all narrow and they go all the way up to your elbow. Again, this one down. Other arm. Then pressing back. Stars, fingers out. The white behind me camouflages my hand. I can put it over there. Okay, we're almost finished our time. Let's finish with a few shoulder circles. We'll have a seated Shavasana, legs straight, on your chair, however you're seated. I'm so grateful to be here with you today. I want to thank you, Karen, again, for always showing up. You're such a great person. You can share the link if you want to. In these early stages, of course, you see I'm developing my sharing of Friendly 15. I don't mind if it's shared. Hopefully it's beneficial. It's only 15 minutes. On Namaste.